This fall season has me heading over to my scrap wood pile. I love how all three of these projects turned out. First things first, I'm going to start with this 4x4 piece of scrap. I'm going to cut it into 3 different lengths, not all equal. I'm also going to sand them down, make sure I get a nice smooth edge and round out the corners. Once I get all the corners rounded out, then I'm going to take what's called a Forstner bit. It's 1 inch, and I'm going to drill it into the top about 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep. Once I get that cut, I'm going to head over to my scrap wood and grab some dowels that I have left over, and I'm going to cut 3 of those. Again, they don't have to be equal lengths. Then I'm going to hit some spray paint on there with some orange color. I don't want to put more than 1 coat because I want the grain of the wood to come through. Once that dries up, I'm going to hit the scrap wood on the dowels, and I'm going to paint those a green color. Again, very little. Once I do that, I'm going to put some wood glue inside where I drilled for the dowels. I'm going to put each one of those in. Not too much glue because we don't want it to come out. Once all the paint's dry, I'm going to just go ahead and hit the edges with some black paint, make them stand out, and then put them up for display, and they look really awesome. Now my next project, I'm going to go with just some 2x4s, also some 2x3s, and some 2x6s. Again, these are going to be cut though in equal lengths. I'm going to need 3 of each kind. I'm going to take that wood glue that I used and put those on just 2 of the pieces. Once I got that, and I'm going to smear it around because I want it to cover as much area as possible, I'm going to bring those 3 pieces together, and I'm going to need to use a clamp. So I'm going to use them on the 2x4s, 2x3s, and the 2x6s. Once they dry for about a good 1.5 hours, then I can take the clamps off. I'm also going to take it over to the chop saw, and I'm going to corner some of the edges on there, make them look really nice. Once I get that done, again, back to the sander, I want to round off those edges. I don't want any sharp edges. Then it's time to paint. On the paint, again, just 1 coat. I want that wood grain to come through. I'm going to do a little bit of a turquoise and a white. And then I'm going to take this little 1x2, I'm going to cut some equal lengths, and then I'm going to hit them with a torch because I love that look of the burnt wood. Once I get all that done, it's time to put some wood glue down on top of these 3 different pieces, and then I'll put the stems on. Any excess glue, we'll want to take that off, and then rough up the edges with some sandpaper. It's going to give it a nice rustic look. And then these homemade bows, I'm going to use some hot glue, put those together on each different one of those, and look at it. It absolutely turned out amazing. I love this. Now, our third and final project. I'm going to start with the wood spool that I have with these concave type boards. These again are going to be equal lengths, but I'm going to keep the middle the same. And on the side, I'm going to take these 2 and draw some concaves on them. Then I'm going to head over to my bandsaw, and I'm going to cut those curves out. It's the best way to do it. You can do it with the jigsaw if you like. Once I get both sides cut out, then I'm going to lay it out, and I need to put some little circles there, little dots, because I'm going to drill these out on each one of these pieces. Once I do that, drill just a small drill bit on each one of those, and then I need to paint it. I'm not going to put the paint up close because, again, I'm going for the rustic look. I'm just going to spray it up there. And on one of these, I'm not going to paint it at all. I'm just going to torch the edges. I love that look. Now, back to the orange one. I am going to torch the edges on that one. And then I'm going to take some of this faux leather, put it through like you're tying a shoelace, turn it around on the backside, double knots, cut off the excess. And then I'm going to head over to my scroll saw, and I'm going to cut out a little stem on a little 1/4 inch piece of wood, glue that down. I'm going to do it to all 3 of those, and look at this. Absolutely amazing. I love how this turned out. It's a bigger project. I love how all 3 of these projects turned out. They're really great, inexpensive because I went to my scrap wood pile. I want to know which one is your favorite. Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed these, and I can't wait to see what you can do.
So I've decided I want to do a bunch of smaller pumpkins, so I'm just going to mark some spots evenly numbered, so that'll make a 4-inch pumpkin. I go down 10 to 10 inches, that'll make a 6-inch pumpkin, and you just keep going until you have as many sizes of pumpkin as you'd like. So I'm going to take my square and just use it to make lines to help me guide myself when I'm cutting with my saw. So I've picked a line that's sort of in the middle of my wood so I can get these into smaller pieces, and then I'll go ahead and cut the smaller pieces from there. So let's start cutting. So to make the stems for our pumpkins, you just need to find a branch or two. I'm going to cut this into smaller pieces so that I can use it for a couple of the pumpkin stems. And I'm just going to use this pruning shear, power lever, whatever you want to call it. Insert it in there. Use your body weight. Push. So then we need to find the center point of each pumpkin. So I'm just going to take my square again, go on the diagonal, and this does not have to be exact. You want to go both directions, corner to corner. See where you get that X, and you're going to do that with all of your pumpkins. So you're going to figure out which you want to be the top and which you want to be the bottom. Okay, so then you need to find a drill bit so that you can make a hole for your stem. We figured this out by just using the piece of wood and finding a drill bit that was about as wide across as we wanted. So this is one we're going to use, and also we're going to put hot glue in here. So if it's a little bit bigger, that's okay. So I've got it clamped down to the table. I'm going to put the tip right where my X is, and you don't have to go all the way in. You can just go as far in as you feel like you want to go. So we're spray painting all of the squares white because we're making two-toned pumpkins, orange and white, and we want to have white as the base coat, and then we'll paint the orange patterns on top of it. While we're waiting for the pumpkins to dry, I'm going to punch what will be polka dots that we're going to adhere to the wood and then spray paint over. So this is just cardstock, and I've got a punch. If you've got a die cutting machine, you can use it. Whatever you've got to make circles, you make as many as you want. And then I'm taking a Xyron machine that has repositionable adhesive in it. Again, like if you're using vinyl or you're using sticker paper, you don't have to worry about this. I'm going to put these in a couple at a time, roll them through, and then I will be ready to stick these on to make my polka dot pumpkin when the paint is dry. So I'm going to put polka dots on my shortest pumpkin, and I'm just peeling these off. And I'm not measuring or anything, and we're just giving it a really good rub. We're just gonna, you can fold it around the corners. And I'm gonna cover the entire pumpkin, and then we're going to use painter's tape to put stripes on the other pumpkin. Okay, so now I'm using painter's tape to make the stripes. The reason I use painter's tape is because it comes up easily, so I have a chance to sort of work with it if I want to get it, if I feel like it's not straight. And again, you can measure these out, but I prefer to just eyeball. Lay that down. There you go. And you do as many stripes as you want, and then we'll be ready to add a coat of white spray paint to seal the edges. So now I'm just going to use a super light coat of white to seal the edges, and then we'll be ready to paint our orange. Now we're ready to remove all of our designs. Remember, when you're using paint like this, you might have some smush. So like right there, you can just take a fine tip paintbrush and make those corrections if you feel strongly about it, and you are going to see the pattern of the wood. But I think that turned out pretty good. So you're going to peel off your paint stripes. When you're going for the circles, you may need to get a pair of scissors or something to get it going. I used my fingernail to get the first one off, and again, I mean, those edges look pretty good to me, but if you have concerns, you can always just like right there, you can just use a little bit of a paintbrush. I'm going to go ahead and peel the rest of these off, and then we'll be ready to add our stems. So for the last step, we're going to take the pieces of our branch that we cut earlier, we're going to put them in the hole, and we're going to hot glue them in there. If you find they're a little bit too big, you can always shave them down a little bit with a razor. This actually fits down perfectly. So I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue right in there. Put this down in. And then you're going to give that just a few seconds to set, and I've already put this one in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add ribbon to make the leaves. If this is something that's going to be outside in the weather, you might want to use sisal instead. But this is going to be under my on my porch under cover, so I don't have to worry. So you can just take any colored green ribbon that you like, cut it at an angle, and you'll have your little pop of green for your pumpkin. And voila, the perfect pop of color for your fall porch or your home decor or your mantle, anywhere you want to add a little fun to your fall decorations.